You know, for decades, women have been sold this complete lie about exercise, a lie that has kept so many of us on a hamster wheel of frustration, totally focused on the wrong things. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and reveal the truth, and it's a truth that could absolutely change your relationship with your body and your health forever. Let's dive in.
It all really starts by tearing down this one huge myth that has held so many women back from getting truly strong and healthy, this fear of getting bulky. As Dr. Gabrielle Lyons says, it's just a myth. And honestly, it's time we moved past it for good. All right, first up, we need to completely rethink how we approach exercise. This is all about shifting our mindset away from punishment and loss and toward building something truly powerful. And this right here, this captures the shift perfectly. For so long, the whole conversation has been about loss, right? Losing weight, burning off calories, punishing ourselves for what we ate. But the new conversation, the one backed by science, is all about gain. Gaining muscle, gaining strength, empowering our bodies. It's just a way more positive and way more effective way to think. Let's be real here. The old way just hasn't worked. For half a century, so much of the diet and fitness world has been built on this endless cycle of losing and then regaining the same 20 or 30 pounds. It's time for a completely new conversation, one that actually builds health that lasts. Okay, now this is where things get really interesting. We've got to stop thinking of muscle as something just for looks, for vanity, and start understanding what it actually is, a vital, critical organ. I mean, just look at this. Your skeletal muscle makes up a huge chunk of you, like 40% of your body weight. But it's not just sitting there. It's an active endocrine organ. That means it's producing and sending out substances into your bloodstream, just like your thyroid does. When you work your muscles, it's like they're sending out little chemical text messages that talk to your brain, your liver, all these other parts of your body. It's the number one place your body disposes of blood sugar and your best line of defense against insulin resistance. And the most incredible part? It is the only organ system you have direct voluntary control over. How amazing is that? So what does this all mean for how we think about a long, healthy life? We've all heard of lifespan, that's how long you live, and health span, how many of those years are actually healthy. But what if the thing we should really be focusing on is our muscle span? Muscle span is basically the time in your life when your muscle is healthy enough to support everything else. Think of it this way. The goal isn't just to add more years to your life, right? It's to add more life to your years. And that life, that energy, that vitality, it's directly tied to your muscle span. And this is the crucial takeaway. Building muscle isn't something you just start doing when you get older or when you start to feel weak. It is a form of biological insurance. You have to build it before you need it, so you have this reservoir of strength and health that's going to protect you later on. Okay, so we've talked about this idea of biological insurance, but how does it actually work in practice? Let's get into it and see how muscle literally acts as your body's own best medicine. But here's the thing, a pretty tough reality check. A whopping 73% of people are not meeting the basic guidelines for exercise. And these guidelines aren't crazy. We're not talking about training for a marathon here. We're talking about just 2 sessions of resistance training a week. That's it. And there's this massive gap between what we know is good for us and what we're actually doing. When we think about the benefits, you can really break it down into 3 main pillars. First up, it's your body armor. Having more healthy muscle gives you a bigger reserve to pull from if you get sick or hurt. Second, it's your metabolic engine, constantly working to dispose of glucose and burn fat, even when you're just sitting on the couch. And third, it's your cardiovascular plumbing, helping to support healthy blood flow to every single cell in your body. And this is why this is so important. Having unhealthy muscle isn't just a sign of getting older, it's actually a root cause of the chronic diseases we all fear, like heart disease and even Alzheimer's, which, by the way, some scientists are now calling type 3 diabetes because it's so closely linked to insulin resistance in the brain. The seeds for these diseases are planted decades earlier, and it all starts with the health of our muscles. All right, so we've covered the why, we get it, muscle is important. Now for the really good stuff, the how. In this last section, we're going to walk through some simple, totally doable steps for the Forever Strong plan. And the best news is this doesn't have to be complicated. Just start with 2 days a week of full body training. Consistency is way more important than how often you do it. And you can forget the idea that you have to constantly lift heavier and heavier. The goal is what's called progressive stimulus, which just means you need to challenge the muscle. That could be doing a few more reps with the same weight. It could be slowing the movement down. It could be resting less between sets. The challenge can look a lot of different ways. Now, you can't talk about building muscle without talking about protein, right? So let's think about a protein podium. In the gold medal spot, number 1 is your total daily intake. Just aim for at least 100 grams a day. In the silver medal spot is your first meal. Getting 30 to 50 grams of protein early in the day really helps kickstart things. And in third, pretty much everything else. Seriously, don't stress about that protein shake window right after your workout. For most of us, it just doesn't move the needle. Hit your total number and you've won the race. This is such a huge mindset shift. We have to learn to reinterpret that feeling of discomfort during a workout. All growth, whether it's physical or mental, happens when we're challenged. We spend so much of our lives seeking comfort, but when it comes to our bodies, constant comfort is like a slow death. We have to learn to see that challenge, that struggle, as a sign that we're making progress. And here's the final piece of that mental puzzle. Motivation? It comes and goes. It's unreliable. The key isn't to wait for motivation to strike. It's about building discipline. Stop waiting to feel like it and just take the next right action, no matter how small it seems. It should be a non-negotiable standard for yourself, just like brushing your teeth. So let's wrap this all up with the single most important idea. Strength is not a nice to have. It is not a luxury. It's not something you do if you happen to have the time. With everything we know now, building and taking care of this vital organ, your muscle, isn't just an option. It's a fundamental responsibility we all have to our future selves.